Good evening. I'd like to call this first meeting of September of 2024, the first meeting of the Daviess County Fiscal Court to order. For those who are watching or heading this way, we're at OCTC, the BLANDFORD Lecture Hall this evening. Once more, I want to thank Dr. Scott Williams for making this space available to us at no charge. So, Commissioner Marksberry, would you do some prayer and also the pledge?
Yes, Judge. Would you stand with me, please? Heavenly Father, we come before you now, humbled by your grace. Blessed beyond measure in our bountiful county. We ask for wisdom and understanding as we make decisions that affect our community. Please grant rain relief to our farming community. Please be with us in times of trials and temptations. Help us as we navigate these times of divisiveness and uncertainty in our nation. Grant us your peace that passes our understanding. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Now the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Marksberry. Ready, Brooke?
1. Consideration for presentation. A. 2024 Daviess County Library tax rates.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Judge. Library Director Aaron Waller submitted to me the Daviess County Library's tax rate presentation for 2024. The library is adopting their calculated compensating rate of 5.7 cents per $100 of assessed value for real property, which is down from 5.9 cents from last year. They're also adopting the resultant calculated tangible personal property rate of 6.2 cents per $100 of assessed value, down from 6.39 cents for last year. And they are keeping the rate for motor vehicles at 4 cents per $100 of assessed value as in prior years. Since they're not seeking to impose a new fee or rate above that of the compensating rate, there is no action for fiscal court to consider for approval. We are simply reading their established rates into the record as presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions from the commissioners? Any questions from the public? Hearing none. Next item, Brooke.
2. Consideration for approval. Minutes of the August 22nd, 2024 Daviess County Fiscal Court meeting.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion is second. We've all had the minutes to review, had them for a few days. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
B. All claims for all departments.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. These are all the bills that are due and payable by Daviess County Fiscal Court. Are there any questions for Mr. Johnson? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
C. Second reading of KLC A.107, 2024, 07-2024, an ordinance relating to the adoption of the 2024 Daviess County tax rates.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Mr. Johnson.
Fiscal Court is proposing to adopt the 4% tax rate, which results in a decrease from 2023's property tax rates. The proposed rates are real property at 12.9 cents per $100 of assessed value, tangible personal property at 13.8 cents per $100 of assessed value, and motor vehicles and watercraft at 17 cents per $100 of value. All other classifications listed in the ordinance are either derived from those read into the record or are set by the state. The public hearing and first reading were held on August 22nd of 24. This is the second reading and adoption.
Any questions from the commissioners for Mr. Johnson? Any questions from the public? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
D. Memorandum of Agreement with the City of Owensboro and Daniel Pitino Shelter for White Flag events.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Johnson.
This is an agreement that Daviess County Fiscal Court and the City of Owensboro execute annually with an entity to provide shelter to individuals needing safe, secure, and hospitable temporary overnight accommodations during severe cold weather. The Daniel Pitino Shelter is the entity providing on-site security and management during the White Flag event for this agreement and by means of a dedicated staff member, with the city and county sharing the cost of that staff member equally per the terms of the contract. Daviess County Emergency Management Agency will coordinate transportation on the weekends and provide specified supplies for the event. The only update to this agreement from last year is that instead of a one-year agreement, this is now a three-year term agreement beginning November 1 of 24 through March 31 of 27. Temperature wind chill criteria will remain at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or below for November 1 through March 31st of each year. EMA Legal and myself have reviewed the agreement. It is in order, and I would recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions from the commissioners? No. Any questions from the public?
Is there everything included for red flag events this time?
Ms. Estes, you need to come to the mic, please.
Kathy Estes, 4104 Buckland Square. I just wanted to ask if anything was included this time for red flag events. I ask this question every year for extreme heat events.
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, I want to just say before I call for the vote, I want to thank the city and Daniel Pitino Shelter for partnering with us on this. And I want to specifically thank Harry Pettigo and all those who volunteer and work at the Daniel Pitino Shelter for the service they provide to our community. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
E, professional service agreement with AEI regarding Baird Road Culvert over Rhodes Creek South.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Duper?
Yes, thank you, Judge. This is a design service contract in which AEI will be performing engineering services for the existing culvert on Baird Road and Rhodes Creek South. AEI has done this work on previous projects, and this will also be part of the 80-20 Bridge Funds agreement we have with KYTC. KYTC, in terms, will pay 80% of the overall cost, and the county will be in charge of 20%. I recommend approval for this contract.
Thank you, Mr. Duper. Any questions from Mr. Duper, from the commissioners? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
F, award bid number 2425-19, one new athletic field aerator.
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Ms. Sturgeon?
Yes, Judge, we received one bid and recommend award to the only responsive bid submitted by Wright Implement for one new athletic field turf aerator in the amount of $4,300. This is the budgeted addition to our current inventory to assist in the maintenance of athletic fields within the park system. Wright Implement is a known vendor. There were no minor exceptions to the specification, and I recommend approval.
Thank you, Ms. Sturgeon. Any questions from the commissioners? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
G, award bid number 2425-22, one half-ton four-wheel drive crew cab pickup truck.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Ms. Sturgeon?
We received 4 bids and recommend award to the lowest and best evaluated bid submitted by B.F. Evans Ford for one new half-ton four-wheel drive crew cab pickup truck for the Daviess County Parks Department in the amount of $46,664.66. This is the budgeted addition to the current inventory. B.F. Evans Ford is a known vendor. There were minor exceptions to the specifications, and I recommend approval.
Thank you, Ms. Sturgeon. Any questions from Ms. Sturgeon? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
H, declare the following as surplus inventory, 2018 Ford F-150 response unit.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Judge. Sheriff Youngman has requested that this unit in his office's fleet be declared surplus such that he can include it as a trade-in on another unit. The vehicle is no longer active in his fleet and serves no immediate purpose. Given the age and mileage of the unit, it would yield negligible value from surplus auction. I see no issues with his request. Per KRS 670802, Section 4, and our administrative code, the item must be declared surplus for him to move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions from the commissioners? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Hire Isaac Bosley as firefighter effective September 3rd of 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. I want to welcome and thank Isaac for agreeing to come work for us, and wish him a long career. So, any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
J, promote Austin Fuqua to fleet mechanic Schedule 3 effective August 28th of 2024.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. I want to congratulate Austin on his promotion and wish him well. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
K, promote Jared Mattingly to transfer station manager effective September 1 of 2024.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. I want to again congratulate Jared for his promotion to the to being manager of the transfer station. Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say as well that congratulations to Jared. He's done a great job where he has been with the transfer station as supervisor, and it's a great position for him, great opportunity for us to have him here.
Very good. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
L, reappoint Dr. Wanda to the Steering Committee Advisory Board effective September 2nd of 2024 through September 1st of 2027.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second. Want to thank Dr. Wanda for agreeing to continue to serve on the steering committee, and I think she helps the committee do much good work. So I want to also congratulate River Valley on their ribbon cutting that they had with the governor in town, the Birch Project. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
3, consideration for discussion, other business to be brought before the Daviess County Fiscal Court. There's none that I'm aware of. B, first reading of KLC 921.684, 2024, 08-2024, an ordinance amending text in Articles 8, 13, and 14 of the Owensboro Metropolitan Zoning Ordinance.
This is first reading, so we won't have a vote tonight. Counselor, if you could, first of all, I want to welcome you. You were at a conference or something last time, so.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Glad you could be with us this evening. So
Thank you.
if you would do what we need to do on this before I call Mr. Howard.
Okay, I'm going to read the whereas clauses of this ordinance. There won't be a vote tonight because it's the first reading. It's an ordinance amending text in Articles 8, 13, and 14 of the Owensboro Metropolitan Zoning Ordinance. Whereas on August 3rd, 2024, the Owensboro Metropolitan Planning Commission held a public hearing and adopted by regulation zoning ordinance text amendments to Articles 8, 13, and 14 of the zoning ordinance. Whereas the official transcript of the proceedings at said meeting, including the evidence presented and recommendations of the Owensboro Metropolitan Planning Commission, have been filed with and considered by Daviess County Fiscal Court and is by reference incorporated. And whereas the Daviess County Fiscal Court has carefully reviewed the amendments and finds that the amendments are in conformity with community directions and its amendments, and further finds that the amendments meet the requirements of Kentucky law. And then there's the enactment clause and 4 sections adopting those recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Mr. Howard, if you would cover for the public what changes we're making here.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. So state law passed, within the last year, regulations that would allow communities to adopt medical cannabis regulations. There are 5 different types of medicinal cannabis uses that were included in the law. Those are cultivators, dispensaries, processors, producers, and safety compliance facilities. So the regulations that are in front of you tonight, our staff put together after researching state law, reviewing what other communities have done, meeting with the judge and David Smith from the county government, and meeting with city manager and some other city staff to come up with the proposed regulations. So it includes definitions of those 5 different types of uses. Those are based on what is included in the state law. It includes the parking regulations and then the land use table defining which zones each of these types of uses would be permitted in. State law has a lot of regulations pertaining to this. The 2 key are that for any of the medical cannabis uses that there's a 1,000-foot buffer from the use from any element or primary school or secondary school or child daycare facility. So it wouldn't include a community college or thing like that, but it does include any of the other schools. So for any of those types of uses, it includes a 1,000-foot buffer. The regulations in front of you tonight for dispensaries also includes a buffer of 1 mile between dispensaries within the community. And then in Davis County, in unincorporated Davis County, it would be limited to 1 medical cannabis dispensary per rural community. So Philpott could have 1, Maceo could have 1, but you can have more than 1 in any single rural community. So that's a real brief overview of what's contained within the regulations. Be glad to answer any kind of questions that you all may have or that the public may have in regards to this change. And this is new language that would be adopted in the zoning ordinance. Certainly nothing in there at this time pertaining to medical cannabis. This is new here. It's new across the state. And we'll go in, the new law goes into effect and these uses will be allowed starting January 1st.
Right. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none. Brian, thank you very much for being with us this evening. Thank you for all the work that you and Melissa have done leading up to this evening. And I know some will be pleased once this is on the becomes law in January, and others won't be. But it was largely done by the state government, and anyway. So thank you very much. Brooke, next item.
C, public comments.
This is a part of our agenda where we invite the public to come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record. And then speak to any item that has not already been on the agenda.
I'm just here to speak for myself. Although I was not, I'm sorry, Kathy Mattis, 182 Thrush Court.
Thank you.
Although I was not physically present at the last fiscal court meeting, I was able to watch it online. I want to correct a false statement that was made to you about me during the public comment portion of that meeting. It was a lie to have said about me that I came to the library board with a, quote, hidden agenda for censorship. I didn't even seek the position. I want to reassure you, commissioners, that prior to my nomination and the fiscal court's vote, I answered your questions and spoke truthfully to you about who I am, including that I was not and still am not a member of either of the two organizations in our community between whom there had been an apparent disagreement and controversy for some length of time prior to my nomination. As I additionally told you then, I was willing to serve because I care about our Daviess County community and our public library, and that if you thought my serving in this position would be of help, then I would accept the nomination and appointment. During those pre-appointment phone interviews with you, in response to any questions asked about the ongoing issues and controversy the library had been facing, I truthfully answered you that I did not support nor promote the notion of book banning or burning, nor have I since then advocated for such. I did honestly tell you then that I did support moving inappropriate materials, such as sexually explicit books, from the children or teen departments to the adult section of the library, where such books would still be in the library and readily accessible for any parents who approve of and wish to check them out for their young children or youth. This is not removing them from the library. Thank you for your kind and courteous attention.
Thank you, Ms. Mattis. Anyone else wish to speak?
Jerry Chapman, Owensboro, Chairman, Daviess County Citizens for Decency. Our founders were influenced profoundly by Christianity. That may shock some of you. John Adams wrote, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It's wholly inadequate for the government of any other." George Washington, in his farewell address, advised all of the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion, and morality are indispensable supports. Now, it may surprise some of you even further. 71.3% of the residents of Daviess County consider themselves religious. So when we read a county commissioner deriding and attempting to humiliate a library board member for expressing her Christian beliefs, a whole lot of people got upset. You may call her far right, but in Daviess County, she's just right. Now, I want to be crystal clear. Until tonight, I've never met Mrs. Mattis, and she's not a member of Citizens for Decency, although she'd be very welcome. I'm sure she, as you've heard, is very capable of speaking for herself. But if you're going to bully her because she's a member of Citizens for Decency, you're barking up the wrong tree. For this community, this is more about our elected officials denigrating Christians' beliefs and the community leaders that express those beliefs. Judge Castlin, Mrs. Mattis deserves an apology. Now, it's a poorly kept secret that a certain commissioner has his eye on the judge executive seat, and it's very clear he and his buddies at the Messenger Inquirer are doing all they can to bludgeon you on any issue they can. We all see it, and it's highly offensive from two different perspectives. Judge Castlin, as many of you know, is a Christian, and he lives his faith. That and his character are a big part of the reason he won election handily. Possibly more important to some, playing politics with this library board nomination is off-putting and tone-deaf. We've just completed the new audit of the library, and to no one's surprise, they're continuing to grow the collection of pornography, and they've expanded their offerings to electronic formats, making them even easier for children to get to. They've done so while enjoying the favor of our local exclusion group. The fact that certain members of this body insist on playing politics and apparently throwing in with the exclusion group while our library robs children of their innocence and poisons their minds is frankly disgusting, and it's not gone unnoticed.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Anyone else wish to speak?
Just simple questions. Can you share?
You need to state your
I'm
name,
sorry,
please.
Cheryl Brown, 2808 Turfway Drive, Owensboro. I was just
If
wondering.
you all would, if you're going to have a conversation, you take it outside. We're having a meeting here. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
My apologies.
I just wanted to know, Judge Castle, if you could share an update on the open board position, and just, we were wondering if you'd received or rejected any applicants.
I have not, and I will update you. The update is KDLA has up to 30 days from the date of the resignation of Mr. Gendek to get me 2 names. I have received nothing.
Okay, thank you. That's all
Yes,
we had.
ma'am. You're welcome. Anyone else?
I have a question and a comment tonight. The question is also...
State your name, please. Yes,
Kathy Estes, 4104 Beckland Square.
thank you.
My question is also regarding the next library board appointment, and I'm wondering if anything has been put in place yet, if you decide to reject the applicants through KDLA, what the process will be after that point, so people know what demographic you're looking for this time to know whether to apply or not. Will there be an application?
I have no idea what KDLA has done to this point. I know when Miss Miss Waller, when she announced at the last library board meeting, my understanding is that she announced that Mr. Gendek had resigned, and she forwarded his resignation letter to me. My understanding is that the rules and the state law, it's not my rules, but state law is that KDLA has up to 30 days to get me 2 names, and the law says I may appoint one of those 2. And again, that's with the approval of fiscal court. And then if I reject those names and the rejection, I can make that without consulting with the fiscal court members. The law gives me that authority. And that's what I did last time. I rejected the 2 nominees, and they sent me, KDLA has up to 30 days at that point to send me 2 more names. And my understanding is that they are pulling those names from anyone who has submitted their names to the Daviess County Public Library on their website. And at the bottom, if you go to the if you go to the Daviess County Public Library website, and I've looked just because I've had some people say, well, what was Aaron talking about? And what was Ms. Waller talking about? But if you go to the Daviess County Public Library website, search for board members, and go to the very bottom of the board list, and it's got their pictures and I think a short bio of each of them, there's a box, and within that box it tells you if you want to apply, click here, and it gives you a PDF of the application. And I think right next to that, the very next sentence is email. I think you're supposed to email that application to whatever that email address is. I don't have it in front of me and I don't know it. So that's about all I can tell you.
Okay, my question was not really referring to KDLA's process. My question was referring to if you reject KDLA's recommendations this time, do you have a process in place that you will be accepting applications through the county, or how do people apply directly to you?
Anybody wants to get me information that they have an interest, they can do it. We have on our website, there's a
Just the regular process?
Yes, ma'am.
For applying for a board? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That was what my question was.
Yes, ma'am.
My comment was that for a long time, I would send you emails every time we had a mass shooting in the nation, and I have not done that in a long time. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware we're up to 385 so far this year, with 3,616 children being either injured or killed. We have had youth in our community injured. We just had a 1-year-old shot. So I would recommend that maybe we be looking at the protection of children in that relation, because I don't know of any books that have killed a child in our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Sir, come to Mike and Senator Boswell. I apologize. I should have recognized you at the beginning of the meeting.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. About half an hour ago,
For those who don't know, if you'd
Senator
introduce
Gary
yourself.
Boswell, 3130 Reed Road, Owensboro, Kentucky. And I'm here not just as a state senator, but as a citizen tonight. And about a half an hour ago, I was sitting out in a dove field with my son and my grandson, but I got a text and I felt like I needed to be here. But I just want to say I don't want to talk about the taxes, the library taxes, but I do want to just mention a couple things. The library taxing district was set up in 1995. I was the county commissioner at the time. It was approved to establish a 4-cent tax rate. There was a vote of 3-1. I was the one and only no vote on that. And the reason why is because I was concerned that the fiscal court, who's a duly authorized authority to appoint board members to the library, I was concerned that power, that's one of the concerns, that power would be taken away. And I was also concerned that unelected officials that have taxing authority, it seems that history has proven that I was right. So now we're at a time where we've actually got, I think most people would agree, this is an absolute mess. Now, I'm pretty sure it was 2022 that State Senator Philip Wheeler introduced a bill in the legislature that was passed. It was Senate Bill 167. That primarily returned the taxing authority back to the fiscal court and made some other changes. But the one thing that left unchanged that I am going to pursue is to stop this crazy mess of all these back and forth appointments. For me personally, this is a decision. These appointment powers are by the duly elected members of this fiscal court, the judge executive, with the approval or disapproval of your members. And that's going to be my goal to get that done in this legislative session, is to return that back to where it should have been always. So that's that.
Thank you.
Now, tonight, I'm going to ask you something. I'm going to ask you to consider doing something that's very unusual. It's because of a text I got tonight. So throughout this county, over the years, there are private schools who have cross-country teams that have been participating with the Owensboro and the Daviess County school system. The Kentucky High School Association has now decided, and it's been more than that decided, it's been approved based on a letter I have here right now that's addressed by the superintendent of Daviess County Schools. And I'm sorry to have to do this, but I'd like to just take a minute to read this, and then I'll explain what I want you to. This is from the superintendent of Daviess County Schools to Mr. Clay Rafferty, who's a cross-country coach at Daviess County at the Heritage Christian School. It says, I'm going to leave most of this out. Owensboro Public Schools and Daviess County Public Schools do not allow the participation of unattached athletes, club teams, homeschool athletes, homeschool cooperatives, or private schools not affiliated with Kentucky High School Association or neighboring associations, And I will be providing you a copy of this, but I only have it on my phone. To allow our schools to disallow Christian and private schools to be able to participate in this program is wrong. And here's why I'm coming to you, and I'm asking you to consider based on this, unless this can be changed. Now, this was done about a year ago, but they didn't actually press the issue. They allowed the children to run. October 5th, there's going to be a cross-country meet, and it's going to be on a property owned by the taxpayers of Daviess County. It's going to be Yellow Creek Park. And I don't think that you should be able to participate on a county-owned property if you're going to exclude children for a race that they've been participating in years. Now, if they're running cross-country meet on school property, that's their right. I may not agree with it, but that's their right. But if they're running it at Yellow Creek Park, that's owned by the citizens of this county, I would ask you to consider this letter that I'm going to be giving to you and consider whether you think that's right for them to be able to run cross-country races on county-owned property while excluding people. And just to give you one more tidbit of this, what it is, they say that if you will join the KHASA, you can participate, but you can't participate unless you're at a high school. I mean, it's really just a bunch of bureaucratic stuff, but it's not right, and I'll be forwarding you a copy of this letter that I just received tonight, and it's signed by Charles Broughton, Superintendent of Daviess County Public Schools.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to any item that has not been on the agenda? come in. Again, if you would, identify yourself when you get to the mic.
My name is Forrest Roberts, and I live at 1844 Griffith Avenue. I consider myself a Christian, and I find what the Citizens for Decency is not only offensive, but not very Christian. This is because it is based on prejudice against gay and trans people, against black people, and anybody else who they don't particularly like. They want to oppress these people and keep them or make them second-class citizens in this community. The message I find of Christ is to love everyone, even those who we don't approve with or who we do wish were not in the community. I think the lack of love in the agenda of the Citizens of Decency, which is employed by Mr. Chapman, and his reaction to the person across the aisle from him.
Anyone else wish to speak to any item that's not on the agenda? Okay, no takers. Next item, Brooke.
D, comments by Daviess County Fiscal Court.
Commissioner Caslen.
Thank you, Judge. So, first, I want to say I'm sorry to Ms. Mattis for her feeling bullied, and that any public comments have come to this that's made her feel that way as well. If I've said something, then I apologize as well. And I also see that with the little time that's been in between on the departures of other people that have been on the board, regardless of what they have cited as far as reasons for their board resignations, I can't help but wonder if they're being bullied as well, and if that has something to do with why they might leave their positions. Saying that apparently if that is true, it's going both ways. So with that, I asked as our community that we, going forward, we be civil to one another and keep that within our community. We can disagree without being bullies to one another, or without trying to be ugly and say some of the things that I've seen people that have written things and what they've said, and stick with facts on things. When you get into the emotions, it starts to create the issues. So please, let's be better to each other, and let's make our community to be the better community and be the bigger person sometimes if you know that somebody else is misbehaving. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Condor.
Thank you, Judge. To follow up with what Commissioner Castle has said, yes, I believe that a conversation needs to be held with Ms. Mattis. No one deserves to be treated or feel the way she has, or any other board member for that matter. Regardless, it doesn't matter. So I will be speaking to her if she will accept the call. She may not, and that's her choice. I understand that. But we do need to have just a little bit of kinder words, to be able to have discussions, just to talk, regardless of whether or not we agree with each other's positions, just to be able to speak to each other. Finally, Judge, I know that Commissioner Caslen, Vice President of Operations for his new company that he is participating in, Click. Congratulations, Commissioner. I hope you knock it out of the park. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Commissioner Marksberry.
Thank you, Judge. First of all, I'd like to say belated happy birthday to Commissioner Commissioner Condor. I didn't find out until after your birthday, even though we were speaking that day, that it was your birthday. So I want to talk about the recent public bullying of our newest library board member. Many lies have been spread about her on social media, including that she's bringing in members from her church, plus family members, to speak at the library's public meetings. After speaking with her, I've learned they do not go to church with her, nor have her family or church members been there to speak. Furthermore, she is not a member of any group, including DCC4D or Moms
for Liberty or the Coalition for Inclusive Daviess County. She has never attended a single group meeting. The recent newspaper article about her appointment did not help the situation. The article implied that the process picking her for the board was flawed. I did not say it was a flawed process, even though I was quoted as saying that. I don't think the process is flawed. All of us up here voted for this board member. We should stand by her and our decision. The new library board member, Kathy Mattis, has no hidden agenda, didn't seek this position. She was simply asked to serve on the library. I think if you would take the time to talk to her, you would find, like most of us, she only wants pornography moved out of the youth section of the library into the adult section. This is a common sense idea that every fair-minded person would support. Some have argued that there is no pornography accessible to the kids in our library. Nothing to see here. If that is the case, why won't the media show the public these controversial books? Why do the reporters turn their heads and turn off their cameras when it's right in front of them? The only thing anyone is asking for is that the library move the sexually explicit content away from the children's and teens department. And speaking of people stepping off that library board, in 2014, in 1 year, 3 people stepped off the library board. So this is nothing new. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I wasn't really prepared to say anything, but I guess I will. And I don't know what I'm going to say, whatever the Lord gives me. I will say I got an email from Miss Estes after the article in the paper where the 3 commissioners were quoted about the process. I was not called for that article, and I was actually called accidentally and got a quick text, ignore that, I called the wrong number. And so I was curious as to what it might look like. And the reality is a process exists. We're going through the process. And I find it disheartening. And I wish these things didn't exist. I think my wife and I were fans for years of a show called Star Trek Next Generation. And one of the premises in there, for anybody who's not familiar with it, is that while they were exploring space and meeting new people and learning about new cultures, they didn't want themselves, there were certain cultures that were behind the times and wouldn't understand what they were about. So they didn't want to be seen by those cultures. And I forget the phrase that they used, but the bottom line is that they weren't ready for that knowledge. And sometimes I think culturally, we're not ready for the power that we have with this, because there are many things that we say on this, using this, that we wouldn't say to somebody sitting right across the table from us. And Cheryl, you and I have had a couple of conversations, and while our philosophies don't meld, I think we've been respectful to one another. And to Chris Caslin's, Commissioner Caslin's point, we can be better than we've been. And I've largely tried to stay quiet because I don't want to be a lightning rod. for either side. I believe that there's a process we go through, and who knows where we'll wind up. I sometimes think when America was attacked December 7, 1941, we remember it as Pearl Harbor Day. I remember hearing a speech by FDR, our president at the time, and one of the points that he made is that we have, and he may have been talking about the Great Depression as well as the war, but he said we have nothing to fear but fear itself. And sometimes I think when we let the unknown about what tomorrow holds, that's more of a burden than what most of us can take. And I'll just put my preacher's hat on for a second, but even the Lord said, don't worry about tomorrow. It's not promised to us that the day has enough burdens of its own. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not a very good Bible quoter. Anyway, you can take that for what it's worth. I do think, one of the things that, last time, Jamie, Commissioner Marksberry, you brought up the weeds around the bypass. I would argue that how we treat one another and how we get through a struggle is a bigger issue and a more important issue about whether or not anybody wants to join our community or whether or not anybody wants to stay in our community. And we need to treat each other gently, no matter where we are. And do we agree? No. Ms. Estes, you mentioned the shootings. I still believe that the Second Amendment rights are important, and I understand your frustrations, and it grieves all of us that we, as you said, had another shooting. And yes, I was aware of it, only because my wife said, "Did you know there was a shooting today?" Because largely, I try to stay unplugged. It's how I maintain my sanity with the job that I have. And for anybody that thinks that this is a job that's ribbon cuttings and all joy, it's anything but. And one of my regular prayers is for myself and for these three commissioners I serve with, that we be blessed with wisdom, that we be blessed with courage to do that which wisdom reveals to us, that we be blessed with grace and mercy so we can show grace and mercy to those who might be unkind to us. Not that I've been unkind to you, but that anybody that's been unkind towards me. And folks, you don't have to attempt to be unkind, to be hurtful. We all are in relationships where we've been hurt by somebody that they'll say, "Man, I didn't know that was going to hurt you that way." And it's pretty deep. The wounds are pretty deep. And I know whatever my wounds are, we all carry our wounds. We all have them. And then the final prayer that I do for all four of us is for our spouses. Because our spouses carry a bigger burden than we do. Because any of you that are married know, when we hurt, when we have had an arrow shot at us, our spouse receives that too. Anyway, for what it's worth, those are my thoughts. I think we will be here again. Isn't that right, Jordan? At least the next meeting. Let's.
About those two events coming up at the parks.
Ms. Marksberry would like me to announce that on September 21st at Panther Creek Park.
think. Is that right, Jordan?
that
21st?
that we have a Take a Kid Outdoors.
Wait, that's this Saturday. This Saturday is the first one. This Saturday.
All right, so Pups in the Park is September 21st at Panther Creek Park. The first 100 people to show up with their animals will get, what are they getting?
Free microchip.
Free microchip. And then after that, the microchip cost will be $10 for each animal until the supplies run out. And then the Take a Kid Outdoors, Jordan, you say is this weekend?
This Saturday, 9 to 11 at the shooting range.
Mattingly.
At Mattingly Gun Range,
Like a
okay.
hunting fishing thing.
Okay.
Archery.
And, oh, thank you, Brooke. Our next meeting is, it's the 16th, isn't it? It's going to be September 16th at noon here at this facility. So anyone that cares to join us, you're welcome to do so. Without further business, this meeting is adjourned.